in any event, if the impeachment does not work, and your boss does not want you to be his deputy, and you are in that space where he's the one who allocates functions to you, roles to you, you probably don't need to stay there. As the average person in the street that I consider myself to be, I have bought 75–80% of what the Deputy President stated to the Kenyan nation over the past 2 days. I know that he has got his own very fundamental weaknesses. Sometimes he comes across almost as obtuse, almost as obnoxious, almost as completely being driven by the power of what can only be described as turpitude. Turpitude, just about the worst possible.
Turpitude. But I think...
But that's said and done. Hold your
yes, I will.
For a moment.
Yes.
That's said and done. Justice is justice. It doesn't matter what this gentleman has been saying about shares. And yes, he was right when he talked about shares. I'm aware that my own home region was promised 30% of government. Now, 30% of government, and it's written very clearly to ANC and Ford Kenya, and if you are doubting that it's about Western Kenya, and I saw somebody trying to inveigle the public and saying there's Ford Kenya, I don't know where and where and where. There are other clauses which we have had. I believe him, and if I believe him, I'm sparing 20 to 25% of the marks because of the secret and disclosed things which he agreed on with his boss.
When my good friend, and I'm using the word friend rather loosely, I've never met the Deputy President at all, says that it is a theater of the absurd. It is a theater of the absurd. If you look at the conduct of the members, they were not conducting themselves with due decorum. And I am suggesting that what Barack is saying has merit only in an environment where truth is given pride of place. But these were individuals who had taken a position. And there is a beautiful Kiswahili saying, anaye kutusi hakuchagulii tusi. Whatever comes to the mouth, that is what they spew out. They had taken a decision, and whatever truth that the Deputy President was bringing forth to them in their mind, it was useless. It was an exercise in futility. My hope, as I've already indicated, is that when he appears before Senate, the senators who have had the opportunity of going through this process when they are dealing with governors, I hope they listen to him a lot more keenly. I hope that they will listen to him and understand some of the things that he's saying so that they are given their due weight. But I suspect I'm hoping against hope.
Hold on hope.
Yeah.
The President of the Republic of Kenya, William Samoei Arap Ruto, is being praised for successfully plotting the ouster of the Deputy President through the National Assembly, as the motion now heads to the Senate. Political observers are reading a similar script and a similar mood. As the National Assembly, the fate of the motion in the National Assembly was purely as a result of state machinations and personal fortunes that were promised to the members of Parliament. And so, ladies and gentlemen, there is a statement that has come from senior lawyer Nelson Havi, who has made a declaration to the President's legal team that the Deputy President will cease being DP on the vote of the Senate, Unlike removal of a judge, which can be appealed to the Supreme Court, impeachment of President and DP is final and incapable of challenge. The Constitution did not contemplate judicial intervention on impeachment. I'm not a lawyer, but from what Nelson Havi is saying here, that impeachment is final at the Senate. Wambora survived several impeachments, and even after he was impeached by the Senate, he was able to get a lifeline by challenging those impeachment procedures in the court. And secondly, even Kawira Mwangaza was impeached by the Senate, but is still in office courtesy of the courts. I may not be so sure about this provision, but I believe this statement by Nelson Havi, being that even though it can be challenged in the court of law by those who seek interpretation of that clause, it is supposed to send some shockwaves on Rigathi Gachagwa's legal team. But I honestly believe, having seen the mob justice, the lynching of the deputy president in parliament, it will be so unfair, and I think it will be detrimental for this country to put the impeachment processes that they have to be finalized at the two houses. Remember, the two houses are normally at the expediency of the government in power. And if it is left for the government in power, that so long as they can marshal numbers, because the Senate and the National Assembly was just a matter of majoritarian rule. I have the numbers. There was not a iota of consideration on what evidence you have against those charges. And so consequently, the DP's legal team filed a case in Kirinyaga, and they are challenging the president. They've been challenging impeachment process of the DP, and also demanding that Ruto should be compelled to stop appointing Rigathi Gachagwa's successor, even if Rigathi is impeached by the Senate.
Well, what you need to do is stop the Speaker of the National Assembly. That's an office, it's an organ of state. And the National Assembly is also an organ of state. Each of them are organs of state. I think you should serve them. They each have independent, not independent, but specific responsibilities. The Speaker has, and also the National Assembly. And you may want also to serve the Senate, because the next step is the Senate. The Senate is the one that actually does the impeachment. Yeah. So there's some work for you to do. If you can do it by Friday, we can see whether you can consolidate these two. So I was just trying to look at this. Speaker, National Assembly, the National Assembly, the Speaker of Senate, and the Senate by 4 p.m. today. In the meantime, the matter is to be brought up for mention on Friday. What time did we give for Friday? I think we said 9 o'clock. When I'll give further directions, probably including consolidation. Okay.
Had come today to court regarding our case against the Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua, and the Attorney General of Kenya, where we were seeking to have a halt of the impeachment proceedings before the National Assembly. However, they did not show up, and our service was proper. Therefore, we have been told to serve the Speaker of the National Assembly and the Speaker of the Senate by close of business today, 4 p.m., and also appear before the Honorable Judge Richard Mongo at Kerugoya Law Court on Friday by 9 a.m.
Do you know the plan? The plan is so clear that if the Senate votes, immediately the Senate will vote and pick, and if they manage to kick out the DP Rigathi, then the next day the president will appoint his successor so fast. And those behind this are saying that is part of the scheme to make the country move, or so that they can make sure that Rigathi Gachagua does not re-strategize, and to test the public perception on that. William Ruto has been praised on how fast he is handled. For the last 2 weeks, the National Assembly have taken time to ensure they send Rigathi home. But ironically, the next day after, the following day after that impeachment, your members of parliament did not appear in the House. And the House had to be adjourned because they didn't get a quorum. Out of the 344 MPs, not even 50 were in parliament the following day to debate critical bills touching on Mwananchi. And just to show you how what observers, or rather what president's handlers are praising as his political chess, I cannot see a political chess, because this is an abuse and misuse of the state machinery. For instance, the National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula had 2 days to notify the Speaker of the Senate of the impeachment of DP, but he used less than 12 hours, and you could see letters being dispatched at night, gazette notices being done at night. On the other hand, the Senate Speaker Amason Kingi has 7 days after being notified to call for a special meeting, but he used less than 6 hours. The plan is to use the legal shortest time possible to put this matter to rest. The plan is to use shortest legal time possible to put this matter to rest, because this is to deny Gachagua an ample time to strategize and counter. At the special Senate, if the committee, or rather if the Senate will find particulars, any of the particulars on the 11 grounds that have been substantiated by the National Assembly, they would actually they will give the DP time to defend himself, and then immediately head to voting. Senators, there is a memo that was sent by the Speaker of the Senate, and just to show you how the president is on hands-on route regarding impeachment, senators have been banned from traveling out of the country to ensure participation and avoid quorum issues that might be used to delay the process in Senate. Remember yesterday, the Speaker of the National Assembly, the Speaker of the Senate, Amason Kingi, was trying shortest time possible to ensure that that bill is processed. And until there were interventions, or rather until there were objections from Senators Cherargei and Medhu and Enoch Wambua, who are insisting that that the Speaker of the Senate should not be in a hurry to process that impeachment, because looking at the profile, rather the magnitude of that impeachment, it should not be rushed like those of governors that the Senate have handled in the past. So on this one, it is very clear that the president is hurrying matters here. While president's handlers praise him, chess master, and a success, and a very successful man in his project to kick out Rigathi, they tried to term Ruto shrewd and that he would easily get his second term. In fact, I saw Eric Theuri, the former LSK president, saying that looking at how the president have gotten his way in the National Assembly, of course through the parliament, the Kenyan people should forget about Ruto missing second term. But if you listen to Richard Onyonka, you will understand, and I think I've also, and this was also echoed by PLO Lumumba, you'll understand why what the political elites see as a big success on the President Ruto does not really correlate or is not what the Kenyan people consider a priority.
Honestly, how much money do people need? I mean, this is... So when you nearly have people like me feeling desperate and sad and disappointed, I want to give up. Can you imagine what the ordinary Kenyan is thinking? Mm-hmm. Can you imagine what a primary school teacher who's waking up at 5 or 6 o'clock to go to school and they are going to teach, and then the children fall sick, and then the insurance doesn't pay. What results are you expecting from Kenyans? This, Ayub, this is my pain. This is my experience as a Kenyan, and I want to reiterate what my brothers are talking about. Can we please ask the leadership of this country, members of parliament, particularly members of parliament, to stop some of the things which they're doing completely, because they don't seem to understand that Kenyans are slowly and very systematically and very carefully, because every action has an effect, every cause has an effect. What members of parliament are doing has an effect on the public. So if they're willing to change, like my brother has said, and they begin to do those things that make this country better and easily governable. Like today, the greatest thing that happened to me is, I think it's on the Standard. If you look at, there's a section, I think it was the mini, I think it's on the Standard. I was really excited. Allow me to do this, gentlemen. There's a section where it is the editorial. I think it's the editorial where they are talking about how the new financial system. How many times have I said money is being stolen, public money, because the financial system has deliberately been collapsed and compromised. Correct. So for somebody in Treasury, and I think it was Mbadi, it's around here somewhere, for finally the government to accept that this is what needs to be fixed. I'll get it as we continue. And it's an overwhelming thing for me, because this country can be fixed. Those who need to fix it are members of parliament, senators, and even governors. We are the ones who know better. We are the ones who can help our people achieve the dividend for being Kenyan. And yet we are the ones who are violating and abusing our people.
Okay. And let's put it as a test. The president praises, President Ruto is receiving praises for orchestrating Rigathi Oster. And that is just, according to me, political oligarchs. Those praises are misplaced by those political oligarchs, and they are escorting Ruto to political oblivion. Look at, and I want to give you a very good example. Let's take a minute and look at the National Assembly report that was released on public participation. During the debate in Senate, the MP for Suba North, Millie Odhiambo, told us that 65% said yes to Rigathi's impeachment. Now, this is a Twitter page on the National Assembly. Today, the 10th of October, the National Assembly has released a report. House releases results of public participation on motion to ouster Deputy President from office by impeachment. I want us to look at this report and compare with what was announced by Millie Odhiambo, so that you understand that even in terms of the public participation, even MPs know very well that they were just pushed, they just did something to please Ruto. The special motion on proposed impeachment or against His Excellency Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua received little support from a constituency in Mount Kenya region. This is the report. Let's just read it. According to a report, received little support. You know, they can't say that was opposed. They're saying received little support in the Mount Kenya region according to a report released by the National Assembly. The National Assembly is writing a report, and they've started that report by saying little support from Mount Kenya. Was the DP's impeachment only happening in Mount Kenya? I think the report should be received little support from Kenya. I don't know what about this issue of Mount Kenya. It should be even counties of mountain constituencies. Let's read. The report outlines how residents in each of the 290 constituencies responded to a motion to remove the Deputy President Gachagua from office during a nationwide public participation exercise. The exercise took place on Friday, October 4 and Saturday, October 5. Let's read. In Nyeri County, Mukurweini constituency had the highest disapproval rate at 97% of participants opposing the motion. Honorable Gachagua previously served as Madeira Member of Parliament between 2017 and 2022. In the area, he represented Parliament. 96% of the constituents voted against his ouster. Other constituencies in Nyeri showing significant disapproval included Nyeri Town, 96%, Kieni, 91%, Tetu, 87%, and Oduor, 86%. Outside Nyeri County, the DP also received massive support in some areas of Nakuru County, including Subukia, 97%, Naivasha, 94%. In neighboring Murang'a County, residents also largely opposed the motion. In particular, in Kigumo, 95% opposed, Kangema, 95% opposed, Kandara, 91% opposed. Results from other constituencies included Maragua, 82% opposed, Gatanga, 77% opposed, Madeira, 77% opposed. I don't know why they have not included Kiharu. The report highlighted opposition in several Nairobi counties, including Embakasi Central, 79%, Embakasi North, 81%, Embakasi South, 73%, Starehe, 67%. Similarly, in Kiambu, residents showed strong opposition with Thika Town, 78%, Githunguri, 77%, Gatundu North, 77%, Gatundu South, 75%, Kikuyu, 70%, and Ruiru, 69%. In the eastern region, Kitui rural constituency led by 93%. Other constituencies showing similar results include Mwingi North, 85%, Kibwezi, 67%, Kadhiani, 61%, Matungu, 63%. So, the report have only given us Mount Kenya and some northeastern part in Nairobi. The other parts have not been represented. But that is what the assembly told us, that 65% opposed. I was just giving you that to show you that despite of the bill having disapproval, the MPs went against that public participation and voted to remove the deputy president. Will impeachment sanitize Ruto and give him second term smoothly, as advisors are saying? What do you think? Will this impeachment sanitize the president and give him second term easily, as his political advisors want us to see? Let's listen to Tony Gashoka. This audio has been going viral in Twitter, and I think it was in a Twitter space. I want us to listen to this because it is going to give us a better bearing. Kindly subscribe to our channel, click the notification bell, and like our videos. I know people who follow the bold are people that like critical analysis. We don't just do emotional charade here. We remain within the objective line. And I want to say something here because it is really tied up to the analysis we want to make on the fate, on whether, having shown how shrewd he can use parliament, he can get his way in parliament, whether that should be interpreted as a second term. I have seen two concerns I want to ask. Someone have asked me, and I've seen in the comments. I want to answer those questions because they tie to this. He told me that, Kevin, you seem to be apologetic about the deputy president. I want to say this, that we remain objective, and injustice is injustice. From the very one go when I started analyzing regarding impeachment, I saw the grounds, and I said the grounds are a bit weaker. They are below the threshold. There is an emotional group that believe that regarding impeachment is a revenge on those unthinkable words he mentioned against ODM leader Raila Odinga. And so, if we put ourselves in that school of thought and marvel at an injustice now, because the DP called Raila all manner of names, then we entertain this weak threshold of impeaching the deputy president. Then the next day it is that Raila Odinga that has been appointed running vice president, or even someone from ODM party that has been appointed vice president or the deputy president. Will you also marvel at flimsy grounds of impeaching a deputy president? The second thing why I'm standing firm on the objective line of the deputy president is this. We cannot say that the problem that is affecting this country is impeachment of a president. Well, in this podcast, we have to fundraise for people monthly to take someone to school, to pay medical bill for people who are in hospitals, and to build houses for the elderly that cannot make ends meet, despite of the fact that the country have a social protection fund to support the vulnerable. And as the famous of Kufa Makanga, Kufa Dereva said, it is not true that Rigathi impeachment is going to fix the country. We cannot marvel at a parliament being disabused in the altar of political revenge. Let me answer the question on impeachment. Contrary to what the political analysts and observers around the president are saying, Ruto is a bit, the 2027 duel is becoming more complex, and there is going to be a big difference of just based on this impeachment. The parliament overdrive, the parliament, the way the parliament was dosed, the way the president dosed parliament signals an autocratic power. And if you follow, and if you read political people making political comments, there are Kenyans that have raised questions that if parliament can be abused that way, how many bills will go through that parliament? This is the parliament that is supposed to question 104 billion. Why we are spending 104 billion for a health scheme system that do not, and we don't have drugs in hospital. It is this parliament that is supposed to question, not us actually, not you. It is this parliament that is supposed to question why we are actually forcing issues on JKIA Adani deal takeover. While even the SGR deal, the 30-year-old SGR deal, Standard Gauge Railway deal, Kenya cannot still even reap the benefits. What do we stand to gain? Auction of national assets. And much contrary to what people see that president is shrewd, the Kenyans might interpret that impeachment as a show of autocratic power. Number two, the Rigathi dumping I think is for the political schemers are looking at it as it will be able to appease the masses when he goes back and pick Mount Kenya running mate. But on the other end, the guy is being knocked out based on tribalism, Mulema politics. So how about if you pick the next person also is talking about Mulema? Or let's not even go there. Whichever way you pick, there must be undertones of betrayal in the mountain. The politics of betrayal will still emerge, especially if Rigathi Gachagua finds his way to a presidential ticket in 2027. Then the betrayal card that William Ruto slapped on Uhuru Kenyatta is what a Rigathi Axis ticket will slap on William Ruto. And that will make the 2027 contest not very easy. Even, I'm just looking at this. How do you praise a government even after campaigning on Wananchi? If you can't fix Wananchi and you can easily fix replacement of your deputy, then the public will see a man who is serving high political interest and not Wananchi. Ruto changes in education, that is education funding model, has failed. As we speak, the secondary schools wants to close prematurely because of zero funding. Some counties county governors are still holding follow-up meetings with the National Treasury because operations in the counties are almost grounded due to disbursement, challenges of disbursement. We cannot be able to serve our budget well and still rely on loans. We are almost going beyond our debt ceiling by looking for other concessional loans. The transition from NHIF to SHIF has been chaotic, and the country is regretting what kind of monster is that. Affordable housing that was supposed to create jobs to the young people is still not really felt. And what about the labor migration deals to other foreign countries? Last but not least is affordable housing, and you can add into that list. Rigathi fight back will dent Ruto's 2027 matrix if he goes to vie for presidency. Ladies and gentlemen, tell me, what do you think? What do you see? The fact that Ruto has gotten easily with regarding impeachment in the National Assembly, is it supposed to show us how shrewd he is, or how the state machinery has been disabused? And it should it stand as a warning alarm to the country, or something to celebrate? Speak to us. Thank you.